With the current release of the new Superman movie, a lot of people have been talking about the new character and his history and all sorts of other things, including myself, and I thought about this one interesting topic that I decided to do a video about. It's what's known as the Superman Curse. Not Cursed from Netflix, I don't even know what the hell this is. First thing popped up when I typed in Cursed. It has been said that the role of Superman and even supporting cast have been cursed being in the actual productions of Superman and other related things. We're going to find out if this is true and really see all these strange cases and see if they really have any correlation or not. The curse really stems from two actors, George Reeves and Christopher Reeves. Or just Christopher Reeve. I guess they had different names all along. Who knew? Yeah, these guys are pretty much the catalyst for this entirely because of their circumstances around the role. Very similar. Both considered one of the best Supermans for their time and are groundbreakers for that role. And both are very charismatic and great in those roles, but they both didn't really like being typecast in those roles, even though they kind of liked doing it in the first place. And they may or may not have led to their untimely death or unfortunate accident. So let's go over to George Reeves, who seems to be the initial cause of this quote-unquote Superman curse. George Reeves wasn't the first person to play Superman, but he's one of the most famous ones for playing it. Back in the 1950s, with first starting out in the Superman the Mole Man kind of low-budget film, which eventually led into the Adventures of Superman TV show. In 1959, he mysteriously died of a gunshot wound in his apartment by himself. A lot of people ruled out to be a suicide due to the fact that he could not find any work that wasn't Superman related, which may or may not be true. It is really unknown, since the gun that was there doesn't have his fingerprints on it, and some have speculated to be a murder, but the case is currently unsolved and is currently ruled suicide. So, did he kill himself because he couldn't find any roles other than Superman? We don't really know. He was supposed to be married around the same time too, but he was also apparently having an affair at some point. So really, who really knows? But this is the first case of a really mysterious actor dying in the height of being a famous superhero. So we'll see what else connects to this. Similarly, the other Reeve, not Reeves, but Reeve, Christopher Reeve, which is a lot of people consider to be the best Superman of all time. And I haven't seen the new movie, but I'd probably agree with that. He's great. And while Reeves initially liked to play the character a lot, he didn't like getting typecast in the role, especially as the films got worse and worse and worse. The studio had to pay more and more money to get him back, because he's the only reason those movies were even good in the first place. Superman 3 and 4 suck, but he's good in it. And believe it or not, he was even going to return Superman again in a Superman 5, which eventually ended up being scrapped for the Superman Lives story movie, which also got scrapped. This film actually would have been the actual climactic end. It would have actually added a lot more comic book stuff that was not in 3 or 4, and had Brainiac in the small city, I forget what that's called. Sorry, comic book fans are going to hate me in the comment section. But this would have been a great role. Honestly, the script wasn't that bad, but it was very expensive from what it sounded like. But he never really got the chance to do it. In fact, he never really got a chance to do any other role other than Superman in Somewhere in Time. Ever see Somewhere in Time? It's not a bad film. This one's pretty famous, but he unfortunately got into a horse riding accident that left him paralyzed from the neck down, which caused him to be under heavy anesthesia and all other sorts of medication, which will eventually lead to his death in 2004. But he lived for an okay amount of time. In fact, he even got a cameo in our Superman show. Didn't seem like he held an ill will towards Superman, as in Smallville he appeared in a small cameo role against his doctor's wishes, and he seemed to be pretty happy to be there as one of his last roles, which is very fitting to be in a Superman project. While many people point to their deaths as cause from Superman, it really isn't related. One's a very mysterious death, the other one is an unfortunate accident that ended up causing the actor to die around 10 years after the accident. So really not related to Superman. The biggest curse, really what you're going to see, what I found, is, at least with Superman actors, is being typecast and having a hard time finding other work in acting, which you're going to find out more as we discuss the other Superman actors in less detail. These are the main two culprits of what's considered the Superman curse. Typecasting as Superman has always been a thing, starting with Kirk Alyn, the first live-action actor to portray Superman in the 1940s film serial. He, unfortunately, was typecast and couldn't find a single work that wasn't voiceover roles, which sucks for him, especially since he didn't even fly, it was just animation doing the flying for him. One of his most major roles after this film serial, I'm not joking, was as Lois Lane's dad in the 1970s Superman film, which I don't know if that's even true, but it's on Wikipedia, so who the hell knows. Alright, I looked it up because I was a little bit confused. Like, when did Lois Lane have a dad? I forgot. Apparently in the train ride, this little girl is apparently Lois Lane. I don't know what the point of doing that was. And the guy right there, well, that's Kirk Alyn, the first guy to play Superman. That's pretty neat. It's not the first time Superman movies would have like cameos to previous actors and even comic creators. So it's pretty neat to see that even back in the 1970s, they were playing homage to what Superman's origins. Pretty neat. I like when they do this, alright? I like it. The first baby actor of Superman apparently died at the age 14. Apparently suffered from schoolyard bullying. Probably not related to Superman, because how the hell would they know? He's a baby here. It's not the second one, the toddler one. That's a different actor, in case you're wondering, obviously. And yeah, the kid died in her age 14 from abuse, apparently, which is a shame. It's a real big shame. I don't know what that word is. Inhalant abuse? Is that what it says? Sorry, I have a problem with my phone. I can't read the left side. I think it's inhalant, which is some substance abuse. Pretty sad. The curse doesn't apply to the other baby Superman or Tyler Superman here, who was played by Aaron Slominski. I don't know how to say that. Sorry if you're watching this. Who makes a cameo in Superman 3, seeing his adult self looking at a photo of himself in Superman 3. Pretty nifty there. And apparently in Man of Steel, he's in one of the army guys. Apparently this random arrow was pointed to him. Isn't that neat? So yeah, look at the cameo stuff. It's pretty neat. Goes full circle. But that kid wasn't cursed. Let's look at another actor who was cursed. Apparently, these are some of the listed actors that are often cited, even if they aren't even really that related to Superman. But here's the first one. It's not the baby, it's the guy holding the baby. Marlon Brando. I'm not going to do an impression because I can't. I don't really need to introduce who Marlon Brando is. He's one of the most famous actors from the golden age of Hollywood, and he's been in very big films like The Godfather as The Godfather, for instance. So let me explain who this guy is. He's had a lot of personal life tragedies. I don't really think they're related to Superman. It's kind of like a stretch. Like, he has his whole long-ass career and other shit going on with this guy. He's a very interesting character. I recommend looking him up if you're interested in him at all. But yeah, he's gone for a lot of shit. I don't think anything's related to Superman, as both his death, his tragedy has basically nothing to do with the 1978 film, as most of that stuff happened in the 90s, way before, after he was done being Superman films. He was only used archive footage after the first film anyway, so it doesn't really matter. He died in 2004 at age 80, which is good age, so yeah, he's had a horrible life in some areas, but with his kids and shit like that, but that's another story that I'm not going to get into because it really has nothing to do with the Superman curse, but he's listed as one of the actors for some reason. And this video is mainly about actors who weren't able to succeed because of Superman, and this is an actor that clearly does not need any help with success. At least in this regard. Especially at this point in time, like, come on. Another actor, or in this case an actress associated with the Superman curse, is Margaret Kidder, who actually denounced it in around 2002 interview. She had a lot of mental issues, which is a shame. I know what that's like. Dealt with apparently severe bipolar and scripts of paranoia. She would die at the age of 69 in 2018, and believe it or not, her death was ruled a suicide, apparently due to self-inflicted drug and alcohol overdose, which is a shame. She definitely was pretty good in the role, obviously, though she did have a lot of substance use. She listened to Superman and not to smoke those cigarettes. That was a bad joke, I'm sorry. Substance abuse and mental illness is not a joke and needs to be taken more seriously in this country, but we don't, unfortunately. But yeah, like, I would agree with that, because it seemed like her problem has nothing to do with Superman. Like I said, she's had this condition. What I can understand is that maybe we have these mental conditions, you have them pretty much for the rest of your life, and it's unfortunate that she ended up taking her own life. She, like I said, she was pretty good in the role, nothing to do with Superman curse. So I don't know why this one's always mentioned. We're talking about Superman, not random side characters who died years later. Another person listed is Richard Pryor. I don't believe that. Like I said, he had drug issues, but what else is new? And had other things, but he had a heart attack in 2005. I doubt it has anything to do being starring in Superman 3. You know, that film was bad and all that other stuff, and definitely didn't probably help his comedic career since he wasn't that great in it, especially compared to stand-up routine, which is much better, but whatever. What are you gonna do? The next one, the article's list, is Donna Reeve, which is actually a more interesting case, as she was not in Superman movies, but she was married to Superman, Christopher Reeve, who died in 2006 at only the age of 44. Who mysteriously died of lung cancer despite not being a smoker. Now that's the only thing that I feel like is cursed, because that is just bizarre to even have that happen to somebody. Then maybe it's a bad case of secondhand smoke, or I don't even know. That's strange. Is it even possible to get lung cancer without smoking? Let me know in the comment section down below to give me some engagement, alright? Give me some engagement. But that is a pretty strange coincidence. We talked about people in film production and stuff like that, but how about the people behind the scenes? How about the guys who created Superman? Yes, people consider Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster to be cursed. Cursed because they're in the comic book industry, and comic book industry didn't care about creators. Maybe it does now, maybe, I don't know. But back in the day, it really didn't care about comic creators. Basically, these guys did not have that great of a life, and they both died in 96 and 92, respectively. But fortunately for them, their family gets, at least one of their families gets a estate for Superman, and they actually get money for a lot of their stuff. And some of their descendants, or kids, or grandkids, I don't even know who they appear in the new Superman movie as cameos. Pretty nice, but yeah, they got shafted and fired by DC Comics and paid terrible for basically creating the superhero genre as it is. So yeah, they really got cursed by Superman more than anything else. They literally created one of the most important and popular superhero characters, then got underpaid, then when they tried to get bright, they got fired and shafted, and had to fight for the rest of their lives in order to get any revenue or any sense of pay meant from creating this very popular and profitable character. And it took to like after their deaths in order for their families' estates to even get enough money. And I think only one of them has in that case. It's a very complicated case. It could be its own story about creators fighting each other. And then probably someone already made a video about it. I wouldn't doubt it. There's a whole story about Bob Kane screwing over Bill Finger, like multiple videos on that. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's a story about DC screwing over the creators of Superman. Another people considered a curse are Max and Dave Fleischer, the Fleischer brothers who created Fleischer Studios. And they are screwed over by Superman, quite literally, actually. They actually were cursed by it. Their studio was very popular during the 1930s. In the 1940s, they were tasked by Paramount to make a Superman cartoon. And they signed a contract which they didn't think was going to get unfulfilled, but due to World War II, it ended up getting them fucked over in the ass. They basically, because of doing a Superman cartoon without a very high budget, they signed a contract that if something went under during a certain time period, they would be bought out entirely and fired, which they were by Paramount, because during World War II, the studio failed miserably. They didn't get any contracts like Disney or Warner Brothers were able to for their cartoons in order to actually be able to survive. It's a really bad time for animation. They are fired because of Superman, which is a cartoon they didn't want to do to begin with. But the Superman cartoon is pretty great. I recommend watching it, but I will do a video on that actually pretty soon, I feel like. Maybe, hopefully, we'll see. So yeah, these guys got screwed over, these animation legends here. Recommend looking them up, they're pretty great. Also, this is unrelated, but I feel like it's always important to state. Bob Kane is a hack. He did not create Batman. Bill Finger did most of the creation, and he did most of the work too. Bob Kane is a hack who hired ghost artists to do his artwork because he was terrible at drawing. This is nothing to do with Superman, but it's kind of related, so I had to mention it. Alright, this has to be out there. The people who don't know this need to know it. Bob Kane is a hack. Fuck him. This next part of the curse is bizarre. Why am I showing you a DVD copy of Superman Returns? Well, apparently, people believe the curse affected the people who made the DVD of Superman Returns, which is something that's hilarious. Apparently, one of them fell down a flight of stairs, one was mugged, and one was physically assaulted, and a third smashed into a glass window. I don't know how it's so hard to make a DVD, that crew, let alone for something like that to happen. But apparently, the director of Superman Returns said they took all the curse away from him, but I think he's an asshole. Bryan Singer, is he an asshole? I feel like he is. I don't really know much about him. I heard stories he might be one. Let me know in the comment section below. Engagement! This one is apparently connected, but not really. This is Allison Mack, who was on Smallville, who did bizarre sex trafficking and forced human labor? What the hell? And this has all happened around 2018, 2019, which is way after Smallville aired. Around like 10 years, 20 years, I don't know. But yeah, apparently this is another one that's on the curse list, even though, well, it sounds like she was a cursed person if she did this type of crap. Jeez, that's crazy. And lastly, what's on the official quote-unquote cursed list, or kind of cursed. I don't really know how this list works. You see some of these are kind of tangential, whatever you say, saying that word right, where it's kind of related, but just because you're on Superman, something bad happens way later down the line, doesn't really connect. Some of this kind of did, like Fleischer's. I feel like Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster, definitely, those guys were definitely affected in the DVD crew, I guess. And maybe the Reeves, but other than that, these other ones are kind of tangential. Maybe Alan, the first Superman guy. But this one is bizarre. It's very recent news. Gene Hackman, his wife, and dog died in a bizarre gas accident in their house recently. It was incredibly bizarre. Yeah, R.I.P., I guess. It was very, very weird. I recommend looking into it. I don't know all the details. It was a very bizarre story. But yeah, that's what happened. R.I.P., Gene Hackman, wife, and dog? Poor pup. But the curses in effect of voice actors are really mostly other actors, but I will get into what I think they might be cursed for. That goes for Bud Collyer. Bud Collyer is, well, the first guy to ever voice the character of Man of Steel, who voiced him in the radio drama, as well as the original Fleischer cartoon of Superman. Did a pretty good job there establishing the character, and especially establishing the different voices for both Clark Kent and Superman, which is a very famous line from him. He says, "This was a good job for Superman," where he changes his voice. It's pretty neat. And he had a pretty successful career, and even did apparently voicing in the New Adventures of Superman, the cartoon show later on. I guess there was another one I don't even know. But yeah, this is one of the examples where apparently voice actors don't have this problem. They includes people like Tim Daly and whoever else voiced Superman. I don't really know off the top of my head. Sorry. Brendan Routh claims that the Superman curse doesn't exist and hasn't affected his career, but it kind of did, as his film was supposed to get a sequel of Superman Returns 2, or whatever the hell it was supposed to be called, because it won't be called Returns 2. But yeah, not only that, but most of his major appearances since then have been replaying Superman in Arrowverse and stuff like that. So I wouldn't say that's a very successful career. He's done okay stuff, I won't lie. It's not a terrible career, but it definitely seemed like Superman Returns was the peak of his career, and that's pretty much been declined since then, which is a shame, since his main role is just trying to look as much like Christopher Reeve as possible, which is a shame. Apparently he does a better job in Arrowverse, but he did a bad job in Superman Returns. That was mostly all on Bryan Singer for being a shitty director and person, apparently. But yeah, it definitely, this is what I feel like the curse really affects, typecasting. And here's what I mean by the Superman curse actually exists. It does, I feel like it is kind of a typecasting thing that exists, and that includes with Henry Cavill, who is apparently, according to Wikipedia, which yeah, I've been using that as a source for this is the best way to get stuff, is he's not cursed. Hell yeah, he's been cursed. This role definitely granted him opportunities, but it definitely fucked him over in the long run. Man of Steel did not do too well critically. It did well financially. It led to a direct sequel being pretty much cancelled, at least delayed inevitably until it was cancelled. This direct sequel, Batman v Superman, had his character die off, be even worse critically, and he did even a worse job there, which is a shame. He looks the part, I don't think he can act the part. Come at me, Snyder Bros. And then he basically only got to play Superman again in Justice League, but that his role was also critiqued heavily due to the fact that the original version of Justice League had his mustache digitally removed for Mission Impossible, which looked really bad and became a laughingstock. Then his character never returned after them having debates with his agent, who was The Rock's ex-wife apparently, and never being casted again, Superman not appearing in the DC universe, but in fact there's other DC movies, but in fact he even started the universe with Man of Steel, which never got a sequel, by the way, which is very bizarre as the film did pretty well right for himself. In fact, a direct sequel would have probably made this character a lot better, rather than having him be a side character in his second film, Batman v Superman, and then have him be a weird mustacheless freak in Justice League. So he got screwed over. He came back for, was it the Justice League Snyder Cut? That's just refilmed footage. Yeah, that film didn't do that well either, even though Snyder Bros love it. It's fucking long as shit and boring as shit. Sorry. And the worst thing why I believe this curse is real is that The Rock, in his infinite wisdom, is like, come back here. My agent wife tells you to come back. Alright, we'll have to cancel being on The Witcher, I guess, which is doing well, but I have difficulties there, so I'm going to cancel that and cancel my other plans because I'm being Superman again, right? And as soon as it happens, DC behind the scenes have already decided they're going to a new universe, and they are pretty much canceling this idea. So as soon as he says he's coming back to Superman, it's the day that he was actually fired again. The curse is real. It's for typecasting, and honestly, Henry Cavill, even though he's actually had some pretty good big projects, he's been screwed out a lot of things. And I feel bad, but at the same time, he's not that great of an actor, but I don't hate the guy as a person, obviously. He doesn't do anything wrong. He just got screwed over multiple times. And that is an obvious example of the Superman curse. And I believe that maybe it's true, maybe it's not. I don't believe in curses. I don't believe in superstition. But what I do believe is that playing the Man of Steel is a big undertaking. And sometimes you can, especially playing in the big screen, you can definitely be typecasted, and that's definitely what we see over time. It's one of those things like being in Star Wars and make you be typecasted for certain things. It's not exactly something I believe in, but it's definitely interesting to take a look at. Wow, that video went longer than I thought. That was an interesting deep dive into what is known as the Superman curse. It's not the only curse in Hollywood or just in general that we believe in. Like I said, I don't necessarily believe in it. I believe that there is like circumstances around certain actors that get typecasted more than anything, which seems to be what I believe the curse is more than anything. Mysterious deaths or circumstances behind actors who were in Superman movies or behind projects, I don't believe in. But as we discussed, each one of these people, it is a shame that some people have had some tragic lives. But at least one thing they can say is they're a part of the history of one of the most famous characters, and they've helped a lot of people. Because Superman's a character that is there to help people, even in comes to society norms, as that's one of its main characteristics. And I'm ranting and raving right now. Sorry about that. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, stay tuned for more videos that may be like this. Let me know what you like about this, what you want me to do more. I do take video requests as long as they're not weird stuff like, I don't know, go to a porn site or something like that. I'm not doing that. But yeah, thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more, and I love you a lot. Now don't take that too personally. Thank you for watching the video you just saw. If you like what you see, make sure you subscribe to me. You can also join me to see any channel things I might have. Give the video a like and a comment. If you want to go above and beyond, make sure to go to the channel link, and make sure to check out the links I have in my channel description. You can support me on Patreon. Currently there I have some digital versions of my books, which I'm currently working on. Another place you can check out is my fan wiki, which has everything to do with my personal projects. It's kind of like my own website. Great place to check out more information about my books, as well as getting the Amazon links for them. And the last thing you do is check out my ratings app, which also have my channel description, which you can keep up to date on things that I reviewed and rated, and you can follow me if you want to. These are the only social media I have, so go check that out. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for the next videos.